I used to think that being ignored was the worst kind of emotional wound a person could endure. It felt like having your existence erased in the eyes of someone whose attention you once took for granted. For years, I avoided situations where that could happen, wrapping myself in layers of people-pleasing habits just to keep myself visible and valued. But life has a strange way of showing you that sometimes being ignored isn't a curse, it's a signal. A sign you've been looking in the wrong direction all along. It started with my best friend, Emily Carter. We had been inseparable since middle school. From homework sessions to Friday movie nights, our friendship was the kind people described as forever. But last year, something shifted. Messages I sent were left on read, without a response. Invitations to coffee were met with vague excuses. Slowly, I felt myself fading from her life, without any explanation. At first, I made excuses for her. She was busy. She was tired. She was going through something she didn't want to talk about. But deep down, I knew the truth was probably simpler. She just didn't care to keep me close anymore. The pain of it surprised me. It wasn't a single sharp sting. It was a slow ache that lingered through the day. I'd find myself replaying our last few conversations in my head, searching for the moment I must have done something wrong. That's what being ignored does. It turns your mind into a crime scene where you're both the detective and the suspect. Around that time, my relationship with my boyfriend, Ethan Walker, was showing cracks, too. We had been together for 3 years, and while things had never been perfect, I thought we had a strong foundation. But lately, he'd been spending more time scrolling on his phone than talking to me when we were together. My texts during the day got short replies. And if I shared something about my day, it was met with a distracted "that's nice" before he turned back to whatever was on his screen. I started to notice a pattern. The two people I relied on most for emotional connection were both pulling away. And I was left wondering, what was wrong with me? One rainy Saturday, after a particularly cold exchange with Ethan, I called my mom, Linda. She has a way of speaking truth without sugarcoating it, which I both love and dread. "Mom," I began, voice shaky. "Do you think I'm hard to be around?" She didn't answer right away. "Why would you ask me that?" I told her about Emily, about Ethan, about the constant silence where there used to be warmth. When I finished, she sighed. "Honey, sometimes being ignored isn't about you. It's about them. But here's the thing, you're taking it as a sign that you need to change to keep them close. What if it's actually a sign that they're no longer your people?" I wanted to reject that idea, but her words stayed with me. The following week, I tested her theory. I stopped chasing. I didn't double-text Emily. I didn't beg Ethan for more attention. I gave both of them the gift of my absence. It was eye-opening. Emily didn't notice, or at least, she didn't care enough to reach out. Ethan seemed mildly confused, but made no effort to bridge the gap. That silence told me everything I needed to know. And yet, instead of feeling more rejected, I felt lighter. It was as if their lack of response had freed me from the constant performance of proving my worth. With that space, I started filling my time differently. I joined a local photography group, something I'd wanted to do for years but kept postponing because I was always waiting for Emily to be free or Ethan to be interested. There, I met people who not only listened when I spoke but also asked follow-up questions because they genuinely cared about my thoughts. One of them was a woman named Claire. She had this warm, contagious laugh that made you want to be around her. After our third meeting, she said something that struck me. "You have such an interesting way of seeing the world. I hope you never let people make you feel invisible." It was such a simple statement, but it hit me hard. I realized how much of my life I'd spent twisting myself into knots for the people who were already looking away. The turning point came when Ethan, perhaps sensing my emotional distance, asked if we could talk. We sat in my living room, and he started with, "I feel like you've been pulling away from me." I almost laughed at the irony, but instead I told him the truth. "I've been pulling away because I finally noticed you weren't really here. You've been ignoring me for months, Ethan. And I don't want to fight for the attention of someone who doesn't want to give it." He didn't deny it. He just nodded, as if admitting to himself that it was over. That night, after he left, I thought I'd feel sad. But instead, I felt the same quiet relief I'd felt when Emily drifted away. Being ignored is painful. It can make you doubt yourself in ways nothing else can. But sometimes, it's also the universe's way of showing you where not to invest your energy. It's a sign you've outgrown certain connections, and that clinging to them will only hold you back from the people who are ready to see you, hear you, and value you. Months later, I still haven't heard from Emily. Ethan moved on quickly, from what I've seen online. And that's fine. Because I've moved on too, into a life where I'm surrounded by people who make me feel like I matter without having to prove it every day. If I could go back to the version of myself who cried over unread messages, I'd tell her this. Being ignored might break your heart at first, but it's also a compass. And if you follow where it points, you'll find the people and places where you're truly seen.